I can't even read this. I just wanted to. No, what? And it kind of worked. Okay, thanks. Bye.
I'm getting it in here. So.
It's a hard sentence to read.
It's not a hard sentence to read. You can't compare the read. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, we're live right now. We're all going to go. We're on the live.
It should be here. People live? That's true.
So fancy.
Okay, we're live. Hit it. We're live. Hit it. We're live? We're live. Hit it. Go on. We're live.
All good? Yeah. Launch Huh. How do you have?
So whenever I look at your face, can you change the slides? So I'm gonna be like I'm just gonna look at your face like this.
We're live right now.
Who here is going to be changing the slides here?
Juan.
That's Juan. Who's doing that? Also, kill the music. I do not want to get the music.
It's no copyright.
Oh, no copyright? Okay.
Turn it down.
Yeah, we're gonna turn it on when we start.
Yeah, I don't want to get it.
Right now it's ambient.
That shit is people have never disagreed with.
Come on, Christian.
Thank you.
Y'all just point at the camera. You look. James. You didn't even ask him. You just said Chris. Point at the computer. It's like work. Oh my god.
What do you mean? So you're going to be recording, you're streaming. We can get the recording up.
Twitch
I'm going
generates
to be recording my own workshop.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, that's gonna be
And
separate.
you are going to still be streaming.
Oh, this is nice.
We're all good to go.
This is a nice setup.
Chris, I agree.
It does feel really fancy. I
agree
don't
with
like
that
all the
statement.
all the blank space on the tablet.
Yeah, this is the old one.
Oh,
I have a new one that's bigger,
Yeah, I'm
but
gonna change it out. Like,
yeah.
I think we need to make it because this is a little too small. Anyway, we're live. You guys, we can start rolling.
All right.
Wait.
Look at the pain. Look at the pain. I want to get this thing out more. If you guys want to get started,
Yeah.
speak better.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Or this one. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Anyway, whenever you guys want to get started, go ahead.
All right.
We're all good.
okay. Let me.
Ready to go.
Yeah, cut audio. I don't want Blackjack. No Nancy.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 4th meeting of this semester. So, what's going down for today? We're going to start development and give you guys a workshop into art or programming. So, let's kick it off. Okay, so today we'll be talking about our production schedule for the semester, the games industry, then about communication with your team, collaboration with your team, organizing your game to make it cohesive, production, and then going straight into the workshops. So, let's go right into it. Perfect. So today is going to be our dev kickoff. So in order to do this, yeah, this is what our production is going to look like. If this screen is too small, you guys can check out those over there too. There we go. Awesome. And over there. So this is what the production schedule looks like. This process is pre-production, where we're getting prepared to launch and start working into the game. So this is where we are right now. We're going to be working on game design, setting everything up, Unity, programming, teaching you guys how to start building your games, and going into our tutorial workshops that will happen after the meeting. So this is the games industry. In general, these are all the roles in the current games industry for AAA titles. So we got production, where you got the game producer, marketing executives, game publishers. Then in design, a game designer, level designer, writer, UI and UX, then art, 3D modeling, texture artist, animation, you get me. There's a bunch of roles you guys can work in, if there's anything you like. Okay? So another bunch of roles. So let's go quickly. I'm going to speed run all of these roles for you guys to see if that's something you would like to work on in the future. So this is the real deal. This is the real games industry. So let's start with production. Let's kick it up. A game producer. A game producer is like an orchestra manager. He coordinates everything in the team. He knows who is doing what, and he coordinates the team. He's not a leader. He doesn't like treat you like a king or whatever. He's just someone that orchestrates the whole operation. Then we got the marketing executive. This guy is going to help you get your game in the Steam front page, do marketing, share it in social media. Then we got the game publisher. You guys probably have heard of Devolver Digital, Telltale Games. These are companies that invest in game studios. So basically they pay for them so they can develop their game, and they provide resources like marketing, etc. They don't make the game, they pay people to make the game for them, and then use it as an investment. Then we got the design department in games, super important. We got a game designer. He's the advocate for the player. He's going to be an advocate for him, and he's in charge of designing and testing mechanics. So there's also lead play testing that takes place. So the game designer is not only going to design the mechanics, so jumping, running, punching, he's also going to test them, see how players like them. Then we got a level designer, people that design puzzles, levels. They do this thing called a block layout. So they just grab like little 3D shapes, little 3D cubes or tiles, and start building a level from scratch and get players to test those levels. So for example, so I'm back. So this is a game called Superliminal. We had a speaker in the past called Christopher Floyd, and he walked us through how he designed the levels to make puzzles that are meaningful, not too easy, but too challenging. So you design a level that's interesting to the player. Then we got a writer. A game is nothing without a story, right? We need a narrative to catch the player. You guys might not know what this is. This whiteboard is the entire story for all the saga of God of War. You guys probably know that game. All of these post-its, all of this was done in one day by the entire team, just throwing ideas around, boom. They figured out the entire story and put it in a whiteboard. Really cool stuff. So writers are super important. A game without a story is not going to be relatable to anyone. Then we got a UA and UX design. So UI is in charge of what the player sees, menus, stuff like that. So for example, this game is Dead Space. They took a really unique approach. They didn't want to have just a floating image, text. They wanted people to feel immersed inside the game. So what they did is they put the menu in front of the player, not just pop up in your screen. And then there's a UX designer who's in charge of the user experience. What does the game look? Oh, so we start playing the game. We have a title screen. Then after the title screen, you select your settings, choose level 1. All that is what the UX designer does to make the game follow a correct path and flow. Then let's go straight into art. So in art, we got a 3D modeler who does the meshes for a game. Only the meshes in the industry, it's super specialized. You specialize in doing meshes, sculpting. Use programs like ZBrush, make the meshes. Then you got 2D artists who do things like character designs, promo art, all those sorts of things. Then in the art department, we got a texture artist. So the 3D modeler does the models like this. The texture artist does the art that is going to be put in those models to make them high quality. Then we got the environment artist. So if you got just the player, you got nothing, right? You need to put a setting to your game. So the environment artist could be 2D, like in Hollow Knight, or 3D, like in Valorant. So you'll make the entire environment. Then concept artist. So this is the person who does concepts, different poses of a character, ideas. So you grab the story. So for example, this is Gwen from the game League of Legends. So she's supposed to be a cursed seamstress. So they started with the concept of maybe using scissors, then kind of like a broken doll aesthetic, and just playing around with the ideas and the art to come to do something cohesive. Do tons of expressions, variations, different hair types, different sizes. Here we got Mario Bros, for example. This is some of the start that was done at the beginning of the game, different poses. What does Mario look from the back, from the front, left, right, when he's jumping? So all of that.
So disappointed in you, Ralph.
Then we got animation department, really important. Without animation, you just got frames. You need animation to give your game life. So, into animation, we got an animator. An animator works with something in 2D or 3D called bones. So bones work by creating this, what is called a rig. So it's sort of a skeleton, like the skeleton in the human body, and then the flesh is the 3D model. So what the animator does is he changes the poses to make them match a narrative, the story, actions like running, jumping, etc. Then to help the animator, we got someone called the technical animator. This guy is in charge of making something called a rig. So you guys saw the bones, but if you move bone by bone, it would be like, oh, move this finger, and this finger, and this finger, and this finger. It would take ages. So this guy groups the bones in ways that are easier to animate. Think of it like a marionette that you can move around. This guy makes a rig so it's easier to animate. So for example, with this little spider, you see these little dots at the top. So when you move those dots, you can move, for example, the belly along with the legs, or things like that. They make the life of the animator much easier. Then we got technical arts. So technical arts is more specialized in programming. So we got the technical artist, which usually works in creating tools for the artist, for the 3D modeler, for the person in charge of rigging the game, and he creates all the programming that supports that. Then we got the Bfx Artist. Games are nothing without visual effects, right? So, for example, the energy saver in Halo, things like that. A Bfx Artist creates something called shaders. Shaders are in charge of playing with the light, rendering inside games to make cool effects, to just make the game pop out as much as possible. Then we got the graphics programmer. He works with 3D math, 3D vectors, 3D calculus, and then works on creating stuff like meshes, all of that to make it work in a 3D environment for a game. So that's graphics. Then we got audio, really important. Again, we know sound is just pictures. So we got an audio programmer who's in charge of programming how waveforms work, how everything is connected within the game. Then we also got a composer. So this is the composer from God of War, the game. So you can see a composer sometimes needs to get in the spirit of the game. So this guy flew to the Netherlands, to Iceland, to spots that were like icy. He tried to get in the mood and then grabbed these Nordic instruments, medieval instruments to make the game vibe. So he composed the entire soundtrack for the game, the music. Then we got the sound designer. The sound designer is in charge of the sounds, not the music, only the sounds. So when you hear footsteps, sounds of like fighting, of kicks, maybe like in Mortal Kombat you hear that like breaking of bone, they use celery for that. In the past we did something, this is called Foley. Foley is when you record game sounds using real objects. So you can record footsteps, for example, by just standing in a bunch of sand, stuff like that. And then onto programming, really important for the game, all the logic. So an engine programmer makes the game engine, which basically supports everything from physics to rendering art. It basically is the puzzle piece that brings everything together in a game. Without a game engine, you cannot bring everything together. Then we got the network programmer. So for multiplayer games like Valorant, League of Legends, you need to have a server, and then players be able to connect to that server and connect with each other. So maintain the code so that players can connect. Then we also got a gameplay programmer who is in charge of actions like running, kicking, jumping. All of that needs to have some logic. For example, let's say I want my character to jump, right? So I can say, whenever I press spacebar, add the force to make him jump. But if I do that and the player just goes spacebar, spacebar, it's going to go out to infinity. So add a logic like, oh, if I am on the ground, then I can jump. If I'm not in the ground, I cannot jump to infinity. So that's what a gameplay programmer does. A tools programmer creates tools for the team for game development. So for example, this is a tiling system. So it would take ages for an artist to draw this by hand. So what they did is make a tool, for example, that just grab a cube from here and then just tile it. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it like that. Makes the artist's job so much easier. Then we got quality assurance, which is in charge of testing the game, testing the code. So we got a games tester. This is again from God of War. So it's really cool how they do the testing. They have a bunch of screens. They have a camera that shows the players' face expressions, how they react, if they smile, if they get scared, all that. And then they have the game footage. This is like super early prototypes of the game. You guys remember I was talking about blockouts? So you can see it's like a simple flat ground, a simple blockout. and just see the player expressions, see how they react. So that's a game tester. That's a really good job to break into the games industry, and they're in charge of just testing the game, finding bugs, and finding if it's a fun game. Then we got a QA engineer who's in charge of making sure the code works. So those guys that make sure that the servers don't break, those guys that fix bugs, those guys that find bugs and then tag them, those are QA engineers. If you guys want to dive deeper in the games industry, once again, I took a lot of inspiration from this video. It's called Racing Kratos. So it's an entire documentary that explains how they developed God of War from start to finish. From a AAA industry, it's super rare to see a AAA industry invest time in something like this, but it's really cool. I really recommend it. I just know that yesterday that they did one on The Last of Us as well. I haven't checked that out, but that's also really cool. And then, so note, all what I just talked about, it was a bunch, I know, but these are AAA titles. These are AAA games in the industry. You can look for this in the future, but we are small teams here. We're just making a little slice from that. So you guys are going to wear many hats. You're going to be jack of all trades. So maybe you can do some programming and some art. Maybe you can do some audio and some programming. Everything. It's going to be mixed up. So no pressure. This is about being chill, fun, and having a good time. Don't be like super gung-ho. Oh, I'm going to be on the program. Yeah. So we can just chill. And then that was the ton. So now we can go into communication with our teams. So I'm going to pass this to Josh.
All right, so how many of you are currently in a team with a Discord server? Basically everyone. I mean, if not yet, you can still find a team if you go on the Discord. But yeah, Discord is actually a great way to organize a team such as yourselves, like a small, kind of chill. So the leads already put on the Discords. You know, make sure you actually have a server picture. I know it seems like kind of a weird thing, but like just have letters in your Discord server is kind of like demotivating perhaps. So having a cool picture, I'm sure you have some art ready already. And yeah, make sure you have channels for art. That's where people, artists can either talk about art or post their art. A channel for programming where they can ask questions about programming or talk about like features they're adding. Audio, where they post audio, you know, brainstorm ideas, general, and what is else? Voice channels. Yeah, so just to like make sure you have these kinds of things, and you know, multiple channels for art, multiple channels for programming, just to like keep it separated and organized is a really important thing. And yeah, make sure all your team members are in it.
Yeah, so now onto collaboration. How are we going to collaborate? How are we going to work together to make this work? So we're going to be using two tools, really simple. For programming, for code, we're going to be using GitHub. Josh is going to help you guys after the meeting set up GitHub. It's basically a server that hosts your code so that everyone can collaborate in it. Think of it as a Google Drive, but for programming. And then we're going to suggest you use Google Drive for art and documents. If you guys make documents, spreadsheets, keep that all there. And also keep all of your art assets there. So if you just go back and forth, send them between each other in Discord, it's going to get messy. I really recommend you have everything organized neatly into folders in a Google Drive that the entire team has access to. So how are you organizing your game? How are you going to make it a cohesive idea, make it something you can talk to someone about? So have you guys asked yourself questions in these couple weeks after pitches about the idea? So where do we write new ideas that we have about the game? Where do we see all of the ideas together in a single spot? Where is our elevator pitch? How can we pitch it to someone? Where do we start? Where do we start development? Or what should we work on next? So who has asked themselves these questions? Anyone? Be like, where do I start? What do I do next? So, yeah, so next, next. So yeah, we're introducing for this the almighty game design document. This is a spot where everything is going to go into a single place that everyone can see. Because if you don't have it, you're not going to know where to start, what to do next. What is the utmost priority? Because if you're doing a game like Mario Bros, right? Your priority should be stuff like movement, levels. But if you start working in stuff like menus, you're not even going to finish a game by the end. It's important to prioritize and have everything in the same spot. So, does anyone know what game this is? So, check this out. Race and Chase game design. Does that ring a bell? Anyone? Mario Kart? What could it be? Race and Chase game design.
Wait. Isn't it GTA?
You got it. That's the official game design document for Grand Theft Auto. So you can see this like huge crazy thing. It's got like an introduction, scope, references, target system, specifications, gameplay. Like this is how they do it in the industry, a AAA title, but we want to make sure you guys make something that's useful for your team. So, making a game design document for your team is going to look something like this. You can use Discord, which is super simple. I suggest you make a text channel that just says game design doc, and then you can type stuff like ideas over there, organize it over there, have really accessible at your hand, or you can also use a Google Doc as well. That is really good. So what do you need to have there? So you saw the giant document they use for GTA. We're going to do something simpler that's useful. So team members, who's on your team, the game name or a placeholder, then the story, what's your story from beginning to end? Or if you're just doing a level, what's the story behind that level? Then the mechanics, jumping, kicking, shooting, pushing, all of that go into a little bit of detail. Then the levels, so make sure you be like, level 1 we're going to do this, level 2 we're going to be doing this. Required audio, what sounds do you need? If you're going to need a punch sound, a jump sound, maybe you're going to need music, write down every single element that you're going to need. Any art, you're probably going to need some animations, some frames, some environments. Write those down, keep down everything in the same place so you know what to do next. And any required code, any required scripts, you might need one script to control the player, one script to control the music, and all that. So this should be a living document. You're going to be starting working on it, but it should be living. It should be updated every now and then because your game is going to grow. You can be like, that idea was terrible. What were you thinking? Let's do this instead. So you should keep it updated as much as you can. So now I'll be introducing a way for your team to collaborate. This is used in the games industry and many other industries, software engineering. This is called agile development. So your team should pick one producer. Every team should have one producer, one person in charge, like I was saying, orchestrating everyone's tasks. And then this producer should create a Trello board. Trello is this program that is like, works with like post-it notes that you can drag around. You have lists for tasks. And then you're going to turn that game design that we were talking about into a list of cards that is called the backlog. So this is what the backlog looks like. So you have stuff like strafing, punch, block, collect a coin, stuff like that. Make that a to-do list that you have over there. You can think of Trello as a to-do list. And then we suggest you have stand-ups. Stand-ups is just a meeting where you say, what did I do yesterday? What am I working on today? And what difficulties am I facing? So we suggest you do those once or twice a week. So this is more in detail. So we have a backlog. So this is all of the tasks of the project. Then we have the sprint backlog. A sprint is a time period. It could be a week, it could be a day. You pick it. We suggest a peak, so it's like, for example, due July 10th, next week, something like that. Then in progress, what is being worked on at the moment, then review. Everything goes to review before it's done. Then the team reviews a task in review, and then you move it to done. And then you got trashed. Stuff that you just trashed and don't care about. Okay? So this is what it looks like. You can add another list if you have something like resources, something for the programming team, and this is what a card looks like. So we got this little crowd over here, we got the picture, then these little circles over here are the people working on it, you have the name, and then you can add more cards. Cards are basically tasks, like post-its you move around. Okay, so this is it in more detail. We got the members over here, and you can add a description. So make it detailed. For example, this is supposed to be a character, like a crab. So size 200 by 200 pixels. This should take about 30 minutes, and Josh is going to be implementing this sprite. Then we add a picture, boom. That is a full task. You know what to do, and you've got it in your Trello. So now you know where to start, what to do next. So yeah, it basically starts at the backlog, then to the sprint, in progress when you're working on it, review, and then when the entire looks at it and goes, green flag, this looks great, just move it to done. And you're just gonna be keeping doing this week after week after week, and in general, you should have the game finished after you're done with your backlog.
There's one more thing I was gonna say. So yeah, an important part about the Trello is to also help you know what to do next. The point of the sprints being like a time period, it's like in 2 weeks we want this to be done. We want the basic game to be done, and that requires these mechanics. If you're a programmer or an artist who needs something to work on, you don't want to work on something that's part of like level 3 when you don't even have the basic player mechanics. So it's a way so that you're always working on something that's working towards your current goal. And that's something you have to set at the beginning of every sprint or at the end of every last sprint. You say, what do we want by the next 2 weeks? We want, to finish level 1. And what do we need for that? Add that to the sprint backlog and slowly work through until all those things are done.
Okay, next we're going to be implementing a system with mentors. So basically, each team will be either assigned or offered a mentor. So this will be a person that's not a producer, a manager. Just think of it as a helping friend, someone there to help you, to assist you through development. They will be joining your Discord server just to gauge your progress, see how you guys are doing, and helping you with decisions. For example, a team might be questioning, should we use 2D or 3D? Should we use pixel art or just 2D design? These people are going to help you make those decisions and make sure you finish. The goal this semester, again, we don't stress it enough. We want you to finish a game, publish it, and just show it. So they're going to be offering advice. They're going to be the point of contact with us so we can make sure you're doing fine and we can help you. We don't want you to feel left alone. We want to be there for you. So this is how we're going to make sure we do that. And yeah, oh, just one slide before. Yeah, so we want to make sure you finish the game and that everyone is happy in the team. Everyone is happy, everyone feels that they're being used well and everything. Okay, so now, after all that, we can just go ahead and jump straight into the workshop. So, introductions, our presenters for today. Christian?
Christian, I'm from DMA. I'm a lead the workshop for art.
And I'm Josh. I'll be doing GitHub setup and some Unity starting stuff as well.
Okay, so we'll be hosting the two workshops. So one is going to go around the table, and the second one is going to be going around this table. So programming over there, art is going to be happening over here. And thank you for coming, everyone. Everyone, round of applause.